Hi, Jodie.
Hiya.
Thanks for being here today.
Thank you.
For those of you that have never met Jodie before, she performed on stage many years ago at the Boost conference, and she shared her story. Um, and I don't want to talk about your story because it's your story, so I'll let you do that. But Jodie's one of the most creative, beautiful souls I know. So we're happy to have you here today, Jodie. Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here. Thank you guys so much for being here too, for showing up. I have a small little screen, so I'll try and keep scrolling so I can be present with each one of you. And yeah, as he was saying, I toured my one-woman show called Learning Curve for over about 2 years, talking about the overdiagnosing and the medication of students and putting them in special education unjustly. And I was diagnosed with learning disability ADHD when I should have been diagnosed with complex PTSD. I am an ACE kid and from a diverse childhood experience. And so the work that I do today is through the Luminous Minds Project, a company that I built to bring awareness of social emotional trauma-informed care and cultural literacy to communities. Through my own experience being put in special education, I didn't know what I was witnessing, but I was witnessing my friends of color going in and out of special education and not understanding where they went to. And doing my research for my play, I realized the school to prison pipeline is what I was witnessing. And I was in school during the 80s and the 90s during the war on drugs and the big Prozac boom that happened. So we were all getting medicated and reprimanded, suspended, and I was suspended 6 times my freshman year of high school. So I should have had some trauma-informed care. I should have had, we all should have had cultural literacy around our way of thinking and knowing that we just work and learn in a different way. I had the privilege of moving away from Nashville, Tennessee, where I was diagnosed, and moved to Seattle, Washington, where I was put into an arts-based program and thrived. And I didn't know at the time what was happening to me, but I was healing. And I was healing through the arts. I was healing through hearing other people's stories. And I was healing by being with a diverse group of thinkers. So, and I had teachers that were really socially, emotionally astute, really smart, and they were humanized. They weren't militarized and they were not authority figures. The first day of school, they pretty much said, you can call me by my first name or you can give me a nickname. Just don't call me anything that's going to hurt my feelings, pretty much. So, you know, we got to be right size with them and we learned shoulder to shoulder and we learned interactively. So I've been working in community for the last 2-3 years, working with youth undoing institutional racism, working with the People's Institute, and working with an organization called Living Life Leadership over in Bremerton and Bainbridge, trying to bring in cultural literacy over into our schools and talking through bringing arts-based programs to these schools. The year that I graduated high school, the program that I was put in, arts-based school, closed. So I'm working really hard to bring that back and make that a normal curriculum in our school system. So today I really want to talk to you guys about yourself, what's happening in the world, your environment, and others, and who we are right now in Zoom. That's really what social emotional learning is about, is knowing yourself, knowing what's going on with you, you know, knowing your traumas, knowing your hurts, knowing where you're at, where's your heart, what are you bringing to the table, what are you bringing into the room, and also knowing that other people are probably feeling some things too, because we're in a big environment here, right? With George Floyd, with pandemic, with our current administration, with our police, and how that interacts with our school system, and how our school system is reacting to that or not reacting to that. And so we're all bringing that into the room, right? And the way that we cover this up and mask it is through intellectualism. And we can't intellectualize ourselves out of this because our thinking got us here. So we need to bring in a new way of thinking, and that's with our heart intelligence, and your emotional intelligence, and kinesthetic intelligence, dropping from our head to our heart and through touch. And so I just want to teach you guys some techniques, and Ian and Justin did an amazing job setting it up, giving you guys all the information around social emotional learning, but how can we actually implement that now, right now? And I have 30 minutes to share some tools with you. So with the kids that I work with, not kids, but the youth, we do check-ins. We set it up in a circle, and we do a check-in, and we go from the left, and we introduce ourselves. I'll say, my name is Jodie, and I'm feeling, a certain way. And we use a gladiator point on a scale, 0 being the worst day of my life, 10 is an amazing day, right? And we do a gladiator check-in. So right now, I'm probably about a 5. I live about 2 minutes away from downtown Seattle. We have protesters all outside of our house. So I'm feeling really dysregulated today. The emotions are running high, but I feel really neutral, and I feel really excited to be here with you guys. So I'm here. I'm here. So I want you guys to really think about how you're feeling today, and show me your gladiator. Where are you at? And it can be at the lower 4s, 3, it can be 6, 7s. There's no judgment here. What this does, it lets me know where I'm at, and keep it up, you guys, because I want to keep moving through these screens. Great. I'm seeing a lot of 5s, seeing a little bit of 4s. Yep. See a 9 right about here. That's great. So then if you just kind of look around your screen, really take in your people, who's in the room with you right now. Take that in. Because social emotional intelligence is really awareness and being present. And it's okay to feel uncomfortable. It's okay to feel a little nervous. It's okay to hold up that feeling, right? Because what this tells me, you guys can let that down. Thank you for being honest. What that lets me know is where you're at, right? Because if my buddy is at a 3, I'm not going to give them a lot of work to do if they need to go and be with their feelings. If they're coming in with a big backpack full of emotions and feelings and trauma, we're going to give them some space, and maybe not give them as much labor or as much work, or engage with them. We're going to ask them what they need. So if you start seeing thumbs at 3, maybe a 2, this might be a time that you make a note to yourself. I need to go talk to that person. I go talk to that student or that coworker. You can do this with your coworkers. You can do this with your students. You can do this with your family. Me and my partner do it all the time. I'm like, where are you at? And it just kind of lets me know. And that starts a conversation, right? Justin was talking about the power of story, is that my assumptions, I can't really guess what your intention is, and I can't just really assume how you're feeling. So if you want to share that, you can. You can say 2 emotions. I'm feeling excited to be here with you, but I'm also feeling really disrupted, right? And I can feel that in my body. That's okay too. We can feel that. And so what this also does too, it gives you the gauge of the temperature in the room, right? So I'm kind of feeling this People are having emotions, rightly so. We're in a pandemic. We have social justice unrest. We have people dying. You know, this is a time to really check in with each other and really be real with each other about what's in our environment, what's going on with our kiddos, especially your kids that are coming from adverse childhood experiences. You know, we can carry that weight. We can be present to that, and we can breathe through that. So having that conversation and, you know, offering up, you know, dialogue. And by bringing in this conversation, it changes the temperature in the room. Because when you just come in with intellectualism and no heart intelligence or emotional intelligence, there's actually a certain frequency that scientists have come up with, knowing that there is a frequency in the room, and that's intellectual intimidation. And if you're coming in with a lot of emotion and feeling a lot of intellectual intimidation, you get incoherence. You will get incoherence from your head to your heart, and you won't be able to concentrate. You won't be able to memorize or recall as much. So it's really important to bring in feelings before facts. You know, I loved what he said, connection before content. You know, just kind of get the temperature of the room, know where everybody's at, have that conversation, and now we can kind of change the temperature in the room. And we do that by bringing in some kind of art. And you can do this in 15 to 30 minutes, you guys. It doesn't have to be an hour, out very overly labored, but just getting that temperature of the room and knowing where your kids are at and your coworkers. So what I would do now, after having a conversation with my kids to know where they're at, talking about the political climate of what's going on, getting people's thoughts and ideas and feelings about that, I'd probably share a piece of poetry or music. It could be whatever of their choice. But I'm going to share a piece of poetry with you that I wrote about 10 years ago called Compassion Fatigue. And what bringing in art does, it actually gains emotional literacy, knowing how to name, claim, show, and tell your feelings. And I'll say that again. So art really builds emotional literacy by showing, telling, naming, and claiming those emotions, identifying them in others, and then identifying them in yourself. And it doesn't have to be labor, it doesn't have to be intellectual, like, oh, this is compassion and this is empathy. We can actually do this through art. With, you know, some hip hop, with classical music, some Motown, just any kind of piece of literature. So I'm going to go ahead. I have about 15 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and read this poem. And as I'm reading this poem, I really want you to be aware of yourself and how the temperature from your head to your heart may be changing or not changing. And feel the resistance, leave or not leave. Just be aware of that. If you're sick, broken, or addicted, and trying to hold on, important thing to remember, get hurt and die or heal and recover, in which case everyone can get over it and you can keep more friends that way. See, it's the hanging around that really pisses people off. Their attention span for compassion is limited. They hate to be reminded of being human. It's not what we do best. It's not that they don't care. They do. They are very happy if you become well. They just want an outcome. They just want to know if they're going to a funeral or a parade, in which case their outfits are ready. They do not know what to wear when you're in the middle between dying and recovering. They do not know where to put the emphasis in your name, which directions of the corners of the mouth turn. They don't even know what to say when coworkers ask casually about you. Simple water cooler conversations become eulogies of the person you were. They say your name as reenacting the agony you're already in. See, time takes time. That's exactly what they're trying to hold on to, and it's all that you need. But we Americans have heroes, not patients. We have special little places to put loved ones not healing quick enough. Adult children can't stand to see their heroes fallen, soiling themselves, drooling, memories fading, bones brittles, and hearts patched up. So we put them in a safe place, sit them in a wheelchair overlooking a beautiful lake, sending beautiful flowers periodically to brighten their room. It makes them feel compassionate. We rolled out of fallen heroes through back doors of airports so the public can't see the casualties of freedom. Like an 18-year-old soldier hit by a roadside bomb that ripped off his legs. We can't bear to see our tough soldier in pain of missing his boots, frantically reaching above his head where he last saw them instead. We sigh in grief when we hear their name on TV or applaud them in return with pale faces and painkiller grins. It makes us feel compassionate. We don't want to hear about Corporal Jones that just had his 12th surgery and is now back to reading Green Eggs and Ham. We want an outcome, not the process. We throw the word support around like the word freedom. Support our troops, support our friends, support our loved ones. Well, the meaning of the word support is to bear the weight of, to hold up, to be capable of bearing, withstanding, to keep from weakening or failing, to give of yourself and time. The hardest part in all of this is seek no reward. We think support is keeping them in our thoughts. Where? Between my Instagram posts and Facebook messaging, when can you schedule me in? Let me know if you need anything. I do. I need your bearing. Our problem isn't lack of healthcare. It's the lack of caring for someone's health or life, the fragile parts. It's the time given to let bones fuse together or withdrawals to dissipate. It's dealing and recognizing we are so very, very small and easily broken that we run faster than what we heal. We should not wear watches, no longer gauge our days by a ticking of a clock, but by the number of breaths. And a weak heart beating stronger with that breath. It's simple. These days are simple. They move slow like concrete, and asking for help is hard. A phone becomes an 800-pound weight, so please don't tell me you'll pray for me. Pray with me. Don't ask me if there's anything you can do, just be there. Show up. Become patient. Bear with me. Thanks. I see Tia, hey, you can stab. I'm a poet. You can stab it out. That's good. I can't hear you guys. But this is a time right now, so really check the temperature of yourself. How are you feeling now? I'm not feeling as nervous. I feel really in my heart now. I dropped from my head to my heart, and I'm real present with you guys. You can nod if that's true for you. Yes? Good. Ian's like, yes, I'm right here with you. Yeah, so it adds to presence when you bring in that heart intelligence. And sometimes even if you bring in a piece of literature, or you can do it, or if you have a student that wants to do a poem, you can always set that up and say, would you do a morning share with us? YUYR, we talk about a culture share. You can do a culture share something that's personal for you, or that is something about your environment, or inspired by the conversation in the morning check-in, your gladiator check-in. And then what I like to do is just say, let's go write for 5 to 10 minutes. So that's what I would like to do right now for the next, let's say 3 to 4 minutes. Take this time and just find a piece of paper and jot down what did that poem do for you? What did it spark in you? It's just mostly a reflection. So you can check back in with yourself. Set alarm for 4 minutes.
I've set an alarm for 10:23.
So I'll wrap it. I'll call you into the circle about 10:22. It's about 10:19 now. So go ahead and write anything that comes to mind. It can be a feeling, soft, heart-centered, warm, seen. Perfect. Great. Everyone should be back in the space and focused again. Awesome. So I'm going to do a quick check-in again, see where the temperature of the room is now. I'm about here. Checking in. Checking in. Awesome. Great. Lovely. So I see the temperature went up probably a couple points, and some people really got into their feelings, and that's okay too. And being aware of that as well, of some people might have gotten into their feelings, and that's okay. We hold space for that, you know? And so that just kind of gives me an indication of like they're going to move out of that, and I can approach them for a conversation later during a break. And so if at the beginning of the class, if it was down here and we started having that discussion and I read that poetry and that needle didn't move, when I asked them to go ahead and write and journal, I would go and slide them a note and say, I want to talk to you after class, or I'm here for you, I see you. And just let them know that they're not alone. And now what you've done in less than 30 minutes is create a trauma-informed space. You've created knowing where people are. You brought in yourself, others in your environment. You got to check in with where they're at, understanding where their feelings are. You've tried to shift them out of it with some kind of literature or art, giving them some kind of reprieve from before going into some kind of intellectual state. And now hopefully you feel pretty centered and balanced. Cool. And this is also part, when we talk about social emotional learning, I think that cultural piece, the cultural literacy is as important as social emotional. Knowing that who is in the room or who is not in the room. Understanding what lens these your students may be walking in, what they might be seeing on TikTok, hearing in their environment, seeing on the news, how their parents are reacting, and understanding that. That's in the room with you. They are in the room with you. So bringing that presence and that awareness and that vulnerability piece is key with social emotional learning. And you get to do that as an educator. You get to be on the same level as your students. You don't have to be the authority, but you can be holding space and creating a nice space for people to come and just get some reprieve, to be seen, to be heard. And that presence awareness in social emotional learning is so key. It's a practice from just going from one thing to the next, but being really present as to what's going on with multiple people in your environment. Does anyone have any questions? We have probably about 2 to 3 minutes for questions, and I'd love to hear any feedback that you guys might have, or if there's anything on your heart that you want to share right now.
Were you the author?
Yes, I was. Yeah, the poem was called Compassion Fatigue. I put in the chat the email that you can email me, and I'm happy to send you a copy.
Jodie, would you be willing to do one of your other poems?
Oh gosh, I knew. I'm like, oh, you put me on.
No pressure.
Yeah, I'll do a quick poem too. This one's called Pull Me Up. Pull me up, push me through, ricochet me in the world of echoes left in chests that bounce off thick skulls. Let my tongue be your hand that widen eyelids. I can't do this alone. Show yourself behind my guts. Keep me addicted to breathing. Choke from forgetting how to. Let me snort you in sincerely. Drip in my belly with self-courage. Lick me clean and confident. Wash my feet of wrong paths taken. Paint my toenails with the color of your flesh. Whip me in fine powder. Dust me off shoulders. Drench me in your perfume that I smell when drowning in self-pity. Pull me up. Push me through, swing me over madness, a flying comet that breaks levees of held tears, unclogged throats of uncomfortable. You know, those emotional swallows that are too big to go down smooth. See, I can't do this alone, devour me. Show yourself in my clenched jaw, sore from holding. Show me excitement in mornings and a reason to get up. Thank you guys so much. I hope, feel free, I put my email in the chat. You can email me any questions that you may have. And I'm here if you have anything, if you want to talk afterwards. So.